When I experience an obstacle or challenge, I'm going to move past it. I'm going to shatter that glass ceiling and I'm going to keep going.
It hurts to smash a glass ceiling.
Wow, we literally have to be superheroes to walk through this life.
While I might have been the first, I pray that I'm not the last.
Hey, Joshua, how are you? Good morning.
I'm great. Good morning, Janine. I'm so excited.
It's really great to see you.
Likewise, yeah. I'm a little jealous of the weather there.
Yeah, it's, you know what? It's probably my last couple weeks that I can sit outside before it's dastardly hot in Arizona. So I'm taking advantage of that this week.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. So if there's birds chirping in the background or dog barking, it's okay.
Yeah. It's just that natural nature thing going on. I'll bring nature to everybody.
Absolutely.
So, and well, sunshine, I hope.
Viewers, we're so excited to have you here and hear and watch the story that Lindsay Bridges is going to share here in a few moments. She has just done some pretty amazing things, and Janine knows her real well, so that's going to be a cool connection. And normally I start off by saying a particular thing, but I wanted to shift that up just a little bit and say that, the past year and a half, we have had the privilege of interviewing women from all levels of influence. From frontline workers in economics and engineering, all the way up to CEOs of some of the largest corporations on earth. And I think what inspires me the most, and Janine, I'd love for you to weigh in just briefly, is that they're vulnerable. And these women also doubt and also wonder if they can do what they're doing. And yet, for a variety of reasons, with mentoring and support and dogged determination, they have broken that glass ceiling and risen to high levels of influence. So I'm just thoroughly inspired by all the women that we've interviewed. And Jeannie, I'd love to hear just a little bit about your
what? I think that's what makes people's journey and their story and what we have to learn from them so interesting is that, it's that willingness to share, that willingness to say, it's not always easy and that we have struggles and we help one another. And once people can identify that and really share it with our listeners, everyone has that Me Too feeling of, oh my gosh, I've had that struggle and this is what I've done to overcome it. And we want to share that collective wisdom because I think collective wisdom is how we advance. And so I agree with you, Joshua. It's really about being vulnerable and being able to tell your story. And sometimes when you hear yourself say it out loud, it becomes more powerful and more energizing. And sometimes when you hear your story out loud, you go, wow, I can shift it. I can take it in a new direction if I want to.
Yeah, you get that metacognition, almost meta experience, stepping back away and seeing your story, which is so cool. So, hey, talk a little bit about Lindsay and how you know her.
Well, Lindsay is just quite the phenomenon for me. I've been friends with her, or I've known her since 2008. I wouldn't say we came out of the gate being friends. I actually got an interim assignment as a nursing leader in the NICU where she was working, and she worked night shift. And one of my first encounters with her was, when can I come to day shift? I'm not this night shift kind of girl. And I'm like, okay, let me get the lay of the land. Let me see what's happening. I can't promise anything. And from there, she just blossomed. She was an incredible nurse and is an incredible nurse. And she just really was able to do incredibly hard things. And I could count on her. She was very thoughtful with the families, with the patients, and smart. And so I really love to watch her career evolve. And she's going to tell you a little bit more about it. But she really inspires me in a way that I wanted to continue to be in touch with her. Long after I left Albany, I continued to be in touch with her just because she fascinates me. So, that's a good reason to stay in touch with anyone, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like you and me.
Yeah.
You fascinate me. I don't know how I come off, but
yeah, no, we've had some really great conversations, and it's the reason to continue to feed it, right? Yeah, so we learn something from each other every time. So, and from our guests. So this is going to be no different.
This is going to be fabulous.
Right?
Yeah. So Thursday, we are dropping our audio podcast with Debbie Hazel, who's our guest. And Debbie has 30 years experience in the financial industry, and has not ended her career. A bit of a sabbatical right now, which is why we could catch her. But just most recently was CEO for one of the largest aspects of one of the largest financial organizations on earth. So, and just brings incredible wisdom, humility, vulnerability about her, doubts and struggles and triumphs as well. So just very excited to share that on Thursday. And then if you want to talk just a little bit about Belinda Liu on Monday, that'd be great.
Yeah, I met Belinda Liu at a Wisdom 2.0 conference. I don't even know how long it's been, 2 or 3 or 4 years. And yeah, it's one of those, I try to go as often as possible. And she had a booth there, and she has these card decks called Gratitude Blooming. And I love this card deck. And so I feel like the universe speaks to me every day. I pull one and I go, wonder what that is supposed to mean for me today.
Yeah,
and it's funny that you brought up vulnerability, because that's the card that I picked this morning. And everyone has a beautiful flower, and also then a question to ask yourself if you're not sure why that word is supposed to mean something for you today. And it's a great deck. And so that's how I kind of started talking to her. And I've used that deck in workshops. And I think it's really a powerful thing to reflect on, no matter what card you pick that day. And so I think her journey, she lives in San Francisco, and she's been in the whole hybrid corporate tech kind of thing, I believe, and is making transitions. And she's just a fascinating woman. So I've only ever known her as the Gratitude Blooming person. And she just exudes that. So
she does exude that. She's warm and funny. And actually, she just recently moved up to Weed, which is right at the base of Shasta, Mount Shasta, to start up a little bit of retreat center. So that's, she's going to be great. Yeah. Exciting.
So, I'm excited to have her too. And then if people want to listen to our podcast, it's at takingherlead@blueberry.net. And so that's where we drop our audios. And eventually these live streams will be cut down and be streaming on that, part of an episode there too. So anyone's that you missed, that you'll be able to find them on the podcast.
And YouTube.
I really appreciate some rate and reviews. We've gotten some new ones. And so I'm really touched by that. And I'm also just so excited that, we are in over 60 countries now. So we are climbing. So that is really exciting too, that we are creating a platform where the commonality of our experiences as women come together, and we learn from one another. And that's exactly what makes us stronger and better at what we do. So that's exciting too.
That's super exciting. Yeah. And the full episodes are on YouTube. I think they're available just like 10 minutes after the broadcast, which is kind of cool.
Right.
So viewers, if you watch this and you want other people to watch it, kick that link out, post that and share that. That'd be fabulous on any platform you're on. And we're on iTunes, of course, SoundCloud, all the primary platforms for the audio podcast as well. And I think a final thing that I wanted to mention, which I mentioned before, is that we're ranked 49th of all podcasts in India. And when I first saw that, I thought, it's not US where we started. But then I thought, well, there's 1 billion people there. And
why not?
The general state of women in influence in India is very challenging. And so among all podcasts to be selected for that is pretty incredible. So
we're excited.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to mention, just because, Lindsay's from Albany, Georgia, and where she does her business is in Albany, Georgia. And it's a smaller town, not terribly small. It has a healthcare system.
Woo, there he is.
There's the dog. But I'm just struck by how we can have someone from Italy. We can have somebody from London. And these are all places where women live and work. There's no, got to be in the big town or the big place or the big country. It's just unbelievable. So,
it is unbelievable.
I'm happy that we have a smattering of everybody.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's bring on Lindsay. And Jeannie, if you want to take a moment to go take care of the dog or whatever he needs, go for it, because I can start, but you let me know. This is real life, I have a couple of my sons here in the other room, so they might come bursting in.
Thank you.
COVID. So let me know. But all that to say, without further ado, let's bring on Lindsay Bridges. See how fast the transition is. There we go.
Hey, how are you? It's
I'm
good to
wonderful.
see
How are
you.
y'all? Good to see y'all too.
Yeah. How is it in Albany today?
It's actually beautiful. I'm a little jealous you're outside. I should have set up outside today.
Yeah. So how's your life? Tell me a little bit about Albany and tell our listeners a little about Albany.
It's wonderful. We're a very small town, about 100,000 people. I actually live right outside of Albany, but I have been blessed and Albany has supported me so well with my adventure. So I can't complain.
Well, we can't wait to hear your adventure. So listen, tell your listeners a little bit about you and your current role and a little bit about your history, because I think that's fascinating for people who want to make that change.
Okay. Well, I actually, when I went to college, I actually thought I wanted to be a dentist. And so I majored in biology and got to the last semester and said, that's not what I want to do. So I graduated and went on and I moved back home and I said, I'm gonna give myself one semester to kind of figure out what I'm gonna do. And I worked at the bank in the meantime. Said, this is not for me. I'm not meant to be a banker. And my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law were both nurses. So I said, I'm gonna give it a try. So I went to nursing school, graduated, got a job in the NICU, and worked there for about 7 years. Went to school, got my master's in nursing, and then decided, oh, let's change it, do something different. And I opened a cupcake shop. So now I sell cupcakes.
That's sweet.
So,
well, when you say it like that, it makes it sound like it was so easy.
It was not. That's the abbreviated version.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people when they ask, well, how did you get here?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, hats off. Yeah. I just want to say hats off to you for the NICU work. You have a strong heart. I have some friends in NICU. That can be hard and sad. And yeah. So thanks for your work in that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
It can also be very inspiring too, right? Make sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It's sort of like a creation of a different kind. It's
like
not exactly a cupcake, but
it's always going to be part of the NICU. Like it's part of me being a NICU nurse. And I even now still, some of my customers that come in the store are old patients. And I've kind of been able to watch them and I've done some of their birthday cakes. So it's really, it's kind of full circle. You see them, from the beginning to the end. So it's really been, that's a cool experience.
Wow, what an impact, right? Especially in a small town. I mean,
oh yes, where everyone knows everybody.
Right. That's wonderful.
Well, Lindsay, do you want to talk about some of your passions? I think you have passions that drive you.
I do.
So talk about early on.
Ended up where I am. For me, my family and my children are my biggest passion, and that's something I want. I want my kids to be, be well-rounded, be able to contribute to society when they grow up. And that's kind of as when I was at the hospital working as a nurse, like when you spoke about the night shift, that wasn't for me. It wasn't for my family. I wasn't there. I was missing out on things that my children were doing. And I always wanted them to know that they had full 100% support from their family. So that's kind of my passion for why I moved on. I still love nursing. I still have my license. I keep up all my certifications because I worked hard for that. But for me, I needed to be there for my family. My kids were young at the time. They're still young. And it just got to where I was missing out too much. And I said, what can I do for me and my family? What can I do to be there for them, but also financially support my family? And that's hard. And so many women don't have that opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. How about passions that drove you earlier in life?
I
foundational.
Think, I'm a feeler. I'm Myers-Briggs. I'm a feeler. And I think that's why I ended up in the NICU as a nurse. I loved it. I miss the patients. I miss the patient interaction, the family interaction. I feel like a lot of nursing is getting away from that. But that's why, I had family members that were nurses, and I thought I can do that. I'm a feeler.
Mm-hmm.
So that passion drove me there. I never knew in school, all through high school, I thought I'm going to be a dentist. That's what I want to do. I worked at an orthodontist office in high school, as my after school job, but I didn't have a passion for it. When it came down time to apply to dental school, I thought that's not what I want to do forever. That's not me. So did some soul searching.
It's interesting. I'm kind of, when I hear you talk, you have to have like this openness that allows you to pivot with what you're thinking. Like, I always wanted to be a dentist. And then that question of, well, do I really? Like, when does that come? How do you allow yourself to ask that question?
And that, it was hard, honestly. Research. I researched. I started as I was looking at dental schools and dentist offices, and I was observing in dentist offices, and I just, the aspect of where I was working was so different. I think I loved when I worked in high school, that office and the people there so much that I was driven, hey, that's what I want to do. But then as I experienced going to other situations, thought this is not really, I think I was more drawn to the environment than the actual career of becoming a dentist. So
well, then I look at you being a NICU nurse, and I have to say, there was no question in my mind, you were a fabulous nurse. You took great care of the patients. You took great care of the families. You were a great team player. There's not anyone that wouldn't say you weren't a fabulous NICU nurse. And yet there was this openness to, I'm wondering if this is what I'm destined to be for the next 20, 30 years. So again, you kind of show up with, I feel like it was out of the blue, I guess, because I was, at the time, I was your supervisor, so maybe keeping a secret from me. But I just, how did that happen that your mind stayed open enough to say, I've studied to be here, but I might not want to do this forever?
I would come home at night and I would kind of think to myself, I did everything I could to take care of my patients today, to do my very best, but there was something I was missing. I kind of felt like what I was missing out on with my family was just more than what I was giving at work. So actually, I kind of started talking with my husband, like, there's got to be something more, something else I can do to be more available. And thanks to social media, I saw actually on Facebook a shop opening in Valdosta. And I said, and that's about an hour and a half from here. And I thought, cupcakes, we don't have that here. So I started doing my research, went to visit some shops, check out, talk to the owners, see how it was going. And I just said, this is something I think I can do. I can involve the family in it. My kids come to work with me. That's cool. And if I need to bring them after school, they can sit and do their homework after school. During the summers, all of my kids know how to run the cash register, how to ice cupcakes.
Awesome.
They know. And that just realizing this is something that we can all do together and be a part of. And I just kind of just said, I'm going to do it. And I had a lot of people say that's a terrible idea. You've lost your mind.
Why?
I think just because of the mindset that nursing is a wonderful career. And it is. But the situation I was in, for me and my family, it wasn't. And so I went against everything that people were telling me that's a terrible idea, and I did it.
So I'm curious, did you ever, prior to making that switch, see yourself as a baker? Like, were you a baker beforehand?
Oh, absolutely not.
So you became one, in other words.
I became a baker, and I love it, actually. I mean, I do not like to decorate the cupcakes or cakes, but I love to bake. There's just something peaceful about going in at 6 o'clock in the morning, being alone, having that quiet moment and baking.
And there's something creative around it too. It's that whole thing.
There is. I'm not a creative person, but I will tell you, I have been so blessed. And I guess it's just how the world works with finding people who work with me who they have the creative bit and they bring that to the table. I'm more the business mind and they are the creative mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to bring in this. I know we talked about it, but the fact that you want to tell our listeners what your husband does, because I think that's really funny.
Yes, my husband makes concrete, and that's it's similar. We mix things, we bake things. He spreads it out.
Chemistry.
Yeah. He ices it, right?
Exactly. So it's almost kind of the same.
Yeah. When you said, his mixing trucks are going around, I'm like, there's a lot of mixers in that.
Lots of mixing going on in our house.
A lot of chemistry.
It's a different kind of consumption, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Consumable.
And it's something too. My children are active there. My son, he's 11 years old and he can go and drive a concrete truck. I mean, it's something with us both being entrepreneurs that we're able to involve our children. And I hope that, ultimate end goal is that they can take the skills and things they've learned from us and, go out in the world and be amazing people one day.
Right.
It's interesting because there's the thought that you can't have it all, right? That is a big discussion within the world of women and work, and you kind of do.
I figured out.
You figured it out.
I mean, and there's still those days, if someone doesn't come to work, it's on me. I'm the boss. I'm going to work.
Yeah.
I would never ask anyone that works I say with me. I don't say for me, because I don't expect them to do anything I wouldn't do. I'm not, you can ask them. I go to work, I wash the dishes, I bake, I sweep. So it's not always glamorous, but I figured out a way to balance work and family, and that's been amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm kind of interested. Was there a childhood experience that you've had a certain kind of way in your upbringing that has allowed you to, number one, pivot in your career, and number two, really shape how you lead employees and how you show up on the team?
I think, my childhood was, I had a great childhood, a middle-class family. Both of my parents worked. I made all A's. I was never the kid that did all the extracurriculars and joined all the clubs and played all the sports. I went to school, I did my work, I went home. But my parents always, were so proud of everything I did. And I don't think there was a particular, moment or anything. I remember when I told my parents, though, in college, that I said, I'm not going to go to dental school. I don't think that's for me. And, they said, okay, figure out what you want to do and we'll support you. And I think that's probably knowing that whatever I did, they were going to be proud of me and they were going to support me. So I definitely was blessed that way that, I could change my mind and it was okay.
That's powerful, that freedom.
Oh, absolutely. And I know not everyone has that. I mean, but we were in the car and I was in college. They'd come for parents' weekend in college. And I just said, hey, I know I'm graduating in May, but
By the way,
I'm not going to apply to dental school. And they were cool with it.
But that also speaks to their ability to pivot. Because,
absolutely.
I think that a lot of parents have their hopes and dreams wrapped up in who their child is evolving to become, right?
Right.
And so just to be able for them to be able to pivot and go, okay, so dental school's out. What's next?
Yeah. They did. And everything, that I've done, nursing school. Okay. We'll help you. What can we do to support you? So I have definitely been blessed with my family, my husband, my parents, my in-laws. So it's been good.
Sorry,
you have a nice comment in the comment section.
Oh,
let's show it real quick. I tried to show it and then I thought, oh no, it's not covering everything right here.
We are so blessed to have Lindsay as our role model at Smallcakes. She has shown us, all of us, that there are no limits to our dreams and goals. There it is. That's what I see.
Thank you, Olivia.
So that is so nice because that's what I see in you. That's what's attractive in our friendship is that I get to hear, you going for it. So, so yeah, that's really fabulous.
Well,
So-
and I have been blessed with people like Olivia to help, encourage me and have people I can count on. And when we come up with crazy ideas, she just says, okay, let's do it.
That's fabulous.
yeah.
Lindsay, you've talked a little bit about your supporters because that was one of our questions, and you kind of just segued in there naturally, which is fabulous. What kind of challenges have you faced, and have you faced any challenges as a woman along your journey? So either.
Both. I've had lots of challenges. Like I said, when I was decided to do this, I had people say you're crazy. Mm-hmm. And the day I opened, we sold over 3,000 cupcakes in one day on my opening day. I had a line before we opened, an hour before we opened, a line down the shopping center. So challenges, I just said I'm going to do it. I've dealt with things, other, bakeries that are in competition, talking bad about us, that kind of thing. And I kind of handle it as, it's going to work itself out. And it always does. COVID has been a huge issue. I'm not considered essential. Cupcakes aren't essential. Mm-hmm. So we had to figure out.
Yeah,
well, for some of us, we had to figure out what can we do. And we said, well, you know what? I have a cupcake trailer. We took it around like an ice cream truck. We said, if the people can't come to us, we're going to go to them.
Yeah. Smart.
So it's dealing with, things like that. As far as being a woman, baking is kind of considered a female thing. It's such a cliche that only women can bake. And so I'm glad it worked out. In my community, there's a lot of women business owners. And we all, there's a saying around town, we say babes support babes. And that's been huge, I think, as a woman, that we know that we support each other, regardless, it doesn't matter what gender you are. We just have to support each other. So I think that I really haven't had much conflict or, any issues because I'm a woman.
Okay. Yay.
Thankfully.
Well, one of the things that you bring up that I think is fascinating is I know that Barbara Rivera Holmes is your president of your Chamber of Commerce, right? And she's a force to be reckoned with too. So I think that when you have that kind of leadership, just in the community,
right?
I think it allows for people to grow and flourish and to dream bigger because she's in a position of influence too. And right. It creates space. And
in our whole community we have so many female leaders in our community that, and that's what I said, we support each other. We have to, women have to be there for each other, that you can't have the cattiness, or you just have to support each other. I have other bakers that, I can't do that, but who can, and we recommend each other. That's the only way we can make it is to support each other.
Right. Yeah. Who has been your mentor? Who has guided and supported you? Who has inspired you, made you want to, just be a better version of yourself? Who's done that for you?
I will say you have made me want to be a better version of myself.
Same.
You
encouraged me, to go back to school for my master's in nursing. And I still, things that I learned while I was working at the hospital as a shift supervisor and through my master's program, I use it in my business and my leadership. A lot of the leadership skills, like I said, I don't ask my girls to do anything I wouldn't do. I take a minute and think before I answer. I've learned, so you've been a big mentor. That was something you said, don't let anyone ask a question after 5 o'clock. So, or you get back to them the next day. And I've learned that, I think, as a mentor, my family has been amazing. Like, it's crazy as it sounds. My daughter's 14 and the things that she does, I'm just in awe of, I'm like, well, the things she does, I think, well, if she can do that, then she recently did a public speaking and went into the regional level. And I thought, well, if she can do that, I can certainly do a podcast.
Yes, you can.
So my family has been a huge mentor and supporter for me.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, we have another comment. I think that,
let's show that.
Rochelle, Lindsay is a huge supporter of the community. Cupcakes became essential when Rosie hit the neighborhoods during the pandemic. Oh, Rochelle.
Thank you, Rochelle. Rochelle is very active in our community as well. She's director of the Convention and Visitors Bureau and hosts the Snickers Marathon. And so we work closely together, another woman in leadership in our community that we have to support each other.
Yep. That's really inspiring that you have that community feel around the women business owners and women leaders. And
I think that's a benefit of a small town. They say everyone knows everyone, and we do, but thankfully we support each other.
Yeah. Strong communities.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that, is to just knowing your neighbor and knowing what all their interests are and have a collective spirit around it. That's really
right.
And when you think about 3,000 cupcakes on your opening day, some people might say, oh, wow, 3,000. But when you think about 3,000 cupcakes,
it's a lot.
When the population is not New York City,
it's a lot.
Yeah.
I also have to say that was great marketing that you did leading up to that. It would have been 3,001, but I didn't want to wait in line. So I went like the following week. But I'm going to tell you that marketing on Facebook, that was genius,
And that's how with it being a small town, social media, word of mouth, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to ask you, one of the things I know about you, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, is you don't like conflict.
Not at all.
Yeah, that's the understatement of the year.
No.
Is that, and you didn't when you were working with me either, right? And so that is something that we worked on a lot because, conflict arises. It's going to happen. And it's just the way of the world to have, if you don't even look at conflict as put up your dukes, but just a difference of opinion. Mm-hmm. So tell me about that now, because we haven't talked about it in a long time.
I have definitely learned to manage it. I don't like confrontation. I never have. But now when you're the boss, you're in charge. And whether it being that I'm dealing with a customer or I'm dealing with an employee, when I'm dealing with, the city telling me, well, you can't do that.
What's your internal dialogue now?
Yeah.
I talk it out to myself. I write it out to myself. I still have to mentally prepare myself, but I have learned to just handle each situation. Always listen to the other person's side of you, get what they have to say, but I handle it. I don't avoid it anymore because it's not an option. I handle it. And I've learned that I can handle it and I can live the next day to tell about it.
This too shall pass.
Yeah. And it's part of being a feeler. I'm always so worried I'm going to hurt someone's feelings, and I've learned that it's usually not that big of a deal.
Yeah. So tell us about that Myers-Briggs, because I think that was we didn't talk about that yet, right? Yeah. Tell us about your Myers-Briggs.
Okay. Well, I'm an ISFJ. I have always been introverted. That's why, I'm the person that when I get on a Zoom call, I cut off the mic and I cut off the camera. So here I am, and the feeler, that is absolutely, I think, why I ended up as a NICU nurse. Just that compassion and always want, and the interaction with the parents, just that, having that emotion with them and feeling and knowing what they're feeling. And so I still think I carry all of that with me today, even in the cupcake world, and worrying about, I need to make sure these customers are happy. It's a different, they're still like a patient's parent. I need them to be happy. I want them to have a wonderful experience and feel loved. But then I'm my introverted self who struggles with the connection.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think learning my Myers-Briggs, I learned a lot about myself.
Have you ever doubted yourself?
Absolutely. Every day.
Tell me about that.
Every day. I doubted myself leaving from nursing. In fact, I stayed PRN because I was so scared that cupcakes weren't going to work out, opening this bakery, if it doesn't work. So I had so much doubt then. Today I have doubt. We try new things every day. We recently started making macarons, and who knew they were such a complicated thing to make. And every day I doubt myself, is this batch going to turn out? So from making these huge life-changing decisions to small every day, I always have doubt, but I think that is what makes me try harder because I want to overcome that doubt. It's the sense of owning my accomplishment and knowing, okay, I did it. I did it.
Reflecting back on what you have done.
Right. It's like I have to beat it.
Yeah.
I have to beat the doubt.
This speaks to me a lot. So I used to have a just bare all and little journal, and I would write down my fears, and then over time I would be able to write down what happened ultimately. And I think it just folds right in with what you're saying, that it taught me these are small things. These will pass and likely things will work themselves out.
Absolutely.
So you really
and
have
usually they do. And they may not work out the way we planned, but it always works out the way it's supposed to. That's what I've learned.
That's a big deal internally to have that structure.
It makes me think of that phrase that your imagination is sometimes worse than the reality.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Because you fear the uncertainty of the future and just really get yourself going. Yeah. And it almost paralyzes you, right? Yeah. And
so I mean, I had so many sleepless nights when I left nursing. And if this doesn't work out, and then I had the people telling me it wasn't going to work out. And then I had the moment one day that I said, you know what, I think I can fully take my foot out of nursing, and I think this is going to work. I'm going to do this. And so for about a year, I stayed on PRN at the hospital just in case it didn't work out. And for some reason, every time I'd be scheduled to work, I'd get a phone call. Well, we don't need you. We don't need you today. So it was almost like, that little, okay.
Well, the universe was speaking to you.
It was. It absolutely was. So after about a year, I said that's it. And I took that full leap and the doubt went away. And, I still, especially during COVID, I thought, well, this isn't good at all. I'm going to have to close my doors. And I have employees that have bills, and I have bills, and we need to work. And that was hard, the doubt, but we came through it.
Well, and I think it's okay, the fact that you kind of decided when you were ready, building your safety net and straddling a little bit until you feel like you're ready.
Yes.
I think that, the universe might have been pushing you out when they're telling you, hey, we don't need you today. But at least you felt like it's okay to build the safety net.
It definitely was a safety net. It was, I just needed that one little foot still in the door just in case. And that knowing I had something to fall back on if something didn't work out. And I think that kind of helped make the leap. But then when I finally made it.
It was done.
Nicely done.
Right.
Nice job hanging in there and pushing forward. Not everybody can do that. And I'm excited for our listeners and viewers to hear that. Like, this can be done. Yes, you can.
It absolutely can. You can.
Yeah.
Well, and back to Joshua's point of having the journal about everything that you're afraid of, and then being able to go back and say, hey, did those things really happen? And if they did, how did I handle them? And how was I successful? And if they didn't, I was worried about things that didn't happen. Just having that clarity is
right. Seeing it in black and white of, okay, and it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out. Yeah. And now how many years has it been since you kind of closed the door on being PRN at the hospital?
I have had Smallcakes for 8 years now. So about 7 years since I just fully stepped away. And I think in that 1 year, I might have worked one shift.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Which is not bad
impressive.
when you're starting up and the intensity of starting up with a small business.
Right. So, and I realized the other day when someone asked, 8 years, how have I been doing this for 8 years?
That's
So,
amazing. Time flies.
And
Yeah.
you know, Smallcakes is a franchise, right?
it is.
Yeah. Did you get any support from the franchise or the other franchise owners, or?
We, when I opened, I was about the 10th store to open. The corporate, he came, it's a man, he came, had me sign the contract, showed me how, kind of, these are the recipes, this is how we do it. And that was it. I don't have regular contact with our franchise corporation. I'm in contact with some of the owners now of other Smallcakes. There's over 100 stores open now, but at the time I was number 10. So there wasn't a lot of people to reach out to. So it was a lot of learning as I went. The store that was an hour and a half away that I saw that was opening, I did stay in touch with the owner there, and who is also a woman. And we helped each other. We, bounced ideas off of each other. What are you doing about this? How are you handling that?
Great.
So that was good. But as far as being a franchise, it's probably the most hands-off franchise I have ever seen. And that's what I warn people when they contact me. Hey, I'm interested. I'm like, okay, but they're hands-off. You're in on your own.
Right.
We have each other. Now there's a larger group of owners, but to begin with, there were 2 of us that stayed in contact with each other.
Yeah.
So now it's building the collective community again, right?
Right. And that's the biggest thing is community and support. And I really don't think that I would have made it this long without having that. And I try and be active in the community. Volunteering, donating things. We take the trailer out to events. That's the big thing, just being active and involved in the community and showing them that we support you if you'll support us.
Yep.
Great. It's a collaborative.
Yeah.
So, I love this question. What is your advice to your younger self when you think about Lindsay deciding, I'm not going to be a dentist? What advice would you give that person now if you were hearing that same story in your children and your children's friends? What would you say to them?
To just do it. Figure out what you want to do and do it. Not to be so scared. I do wish growing up through, high school, I had not been so reserved. I think I wish I had experienced more as far as what can I be when I grow up? And I try and expose my kids to that now, because there's so much out there that you don't know and you don't get exposed to. All I knew was I worked in an orthodontist office and I liked it there. So that's what I want to do. And it wasn't really what I wanted to do once I started experiencing things. So I think I would have told myself to experience things and try things, because even though there's doubt, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Yeah. But you don't know unless you try it.
Yeah.
Right.
I love it. Yeah.
Exactly. The kind of dichotomy I hear in your story is that I know you're an introvert, and, obviously introverts, it's really about where they get their energy from. But I also know you have a huge following of people who are cheering you on, and you have the collective community. You have nice comments in the section. So it's sort of like you have these fabulous relationships, and most people think that being an introvert is not liking people, and I don't think that's true about you at all.
I love my people. I have my people, and we love each other and we support each other. And I think that's something I tell my daughter, it's find those relationships of people who support you and encourage you and push you to be your best you. It's more about quantity than quality. Quality than quantity, excuse me. And so, yes, I'm an introvert, but I think the relationships I have with those people are because they support me and they encourage me.
Mhm.
A lot of people just like cupcakes.
Yes.
That's the
Yeah.
honest truth.
That is the honest truth. I love it.
Yeah, that's so funny. That's so funny.
I found that introverts, I've read about this, but I also know a number of hyper introverts who are people, but they're very strategic and intentional and thoughtful about those interactions.
Yes.
You know, and I got to be honest, I'm a little more, I'm hyper extroverted. And so I don't always think about those things as much. So I've learned a lot. To me, your ability to plan and be strategic, I bet you're a little like that, aren't you?
Oh, I plan everything.
Yeah.
And that's just, I'm such a planner, and I've always been that way. I'm a list maker. I like to know. I'm early everywhere I go. I think that's a lot of my Myers-Briggs in me too.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some resources that you're digging into? Do you have time, but are there some books or articles or podcasts that you're listening to other than this one?
Well, I've listened to this one because I've been studying.
Yep.
And the women that y'all interview are amazing. Honestly, no, I'm not really listening or reading anything right now because I don't have time. You know, trying to be active in the community, having a business, having 3 kids, a husband. I don't have time.
Not surprised.
And a lot of the things I learn are from being in touch with other women in my community, and other Smallcakes owners. That's where a lot of my growth comes from, is learning from them. And getting ideas from them and encouragement. So I think it's more of a personal type of growth than reading and listening.
So do you have a self-care hack that you do for yourself? What do you do for self-care to take care of Lindsay Bridges?
Well, I do go to the gym every day. But mostly my family, we love the beach. So we've kind of taken baby steps along the way, and we have a house. It's not on the beach, but it's at the beach.
It's close.
And
The Gulf, right?
On the Gulf, and we fish. And that is like, there's no phone service. You're in the middle of the ocean, and it's our family time, and it's something that we all love to do together. So that's the biggest thing, is trying to just find time to get away from everything, take that moment of downtime and disconnect from the real world and have time.
Disconnect from that baking and mixing and curing.
Disconnect. We disconnect.
Right. Yeah.
that's
Lindsay, I always get to ask this final question, and I just love it. And thank you, Janine, for letting me ask this one. You are a woman of influence, and with your family and your community, and even broader with other franchises and locations, and so many other ways within nursing. What are you most hopeful for women in influence and leadership in the future?
I think I'm hopeful for more women to not be afraid to step out of the norm. There's such a stigma that, we're moms, we're wives, we go to work. But if there's something you want to do to try and figure out how to make that work family life balance, don't be afraid to try it, because honestly, you've got to have that balance. And I think it makes me a better mom and wife and family member because I do have that balance. I don't feel completely drained by a career. I feel like I can be my best self. So I would hope that women can get past that fear of, I've got to go to work and do this, 9 to 5, and I can't be here and I can't be there. Don't be scared. Figure out what works for you and your family and do it.
I love it. And we should end there. This has been such a privilege. And you
Yes,
are
thank you,
awesome.
Thank you.
Lindsay. You know, I love doing this interview because there's things that I learn about you every time we talk, and you know, you do inspire me, and I'm so excited for you and your success. And having watched you take those tentative baby steps and look where you are now, I'm just really delighted for you.
Thank you.
So, yep.
Lindsay,
Well,
have a wonderful day, and we'll be
Thank
talking real
you, y'all
soon.
thank
too.
you.
Absolutely. Thank
We'll see
you.
All right. Bye. Ah, what a dear.
I know, isn't she fabulous? Just
Yeah.
one foot in front of the other. That's what we got to do here, right?
Yeah.
So I love that
She's
about her.
inspiring. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, Janine, you know that when I transitioned from leadership to the podcast and training and things like that, I had a lot of doubts. I had a lot of concerns. It was a hard transition for me.
Right.
And I wish I'd talked to her as I was going through that, because that's so inspiring.
But that's what you have in common, is that one foot in front of the other. And you know how she said she did her research and she went down to Valdosta and she met that person. Well, you kind of did the same thing. You called in your network. You kind of tried to figure things out. You learned how to edit podcasts yourself.
Yeah.
Do it yourself podcast. And
Yeah.
you know, I think that is so inspiring to just say, you know, life has thrown a curveball in some way or another, a desire that you want. And, you know, now you're home with your sons in the same way you're able to do the things that you really love to do. So
It's
I
brilliant.
think that's what we're all hoping for, is not to feel chained to any one thing that isn't part of who we are. It's that authenticity.
You know, I hope that this message gets out to, as you know, impact more organizations and leaders in organizations, because the climate and the structure and the HR and time off and maternity leave and, you know, can a woman keep her job when she has kids? All of that just has to change. It just has to change. So
well, especially if you want to keep people in the workforce of, you know, a corporate 9-to-5 type thing. She's one of the people that could maybe pivot and move to a business, but not everybody's going to be able to do that. So how do you make the job that you have palatable and work with your life is just a question that everybody has, man or woman, really. So
just fabulous.
Well, and I love that she got so many comments too.
That was great.
I think her community has rallied behind her, and we appreciate Rochelle and Olivia chiming in. That was so great.
Absolutely. That was awesome.
So tell us what's coming up this week, so that
for those who just hopped in
knows.
halfway. So we have Debbie Hazel, the audio podcast, dropping on Thursday. And again, Debbie is just a bit on sabbatical from 30 years of work in the financial industry, and just having risen to incredibly high level globally as being a CEO, and a warm, incredibly encouraging, thoughtful, and wise person. So listen to that. It's an impactful interview. And then we have Belinda Liu on next Monday on the live stream. And she is a dynamo.
Our creative entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur, background in corporate training and cultural change. And then moving into, she's a creative.
Bringing gratitude to the world. And
really
many
cool.
other things, mindfulness and leadership and so she's going to be fabulous too. So if anyone's missed any of these live streams, they can go to YouTube and find us, right? We have a channel there and subscribe. And eventually, we haven't even dropped our first live stream to the podcast
as an
yet,
audio.
because we had some people who were already previously recorded that we're going to be dropping first. So people can always revisit them. So it's been great.
All right.
Well, thank you for another great morning. Sorry, there's all that background of life going on in my backyard, but it really makes me aware of my sounds and all that other stuff. Birds, airplanes, dogs. I kind of like it.
And we all wish we were there with you, and that's in the sunshine and warmth right now.
You won't in July, trust me, when I'm sweating. So
I like the heat, but still, All right. Well, Janine, this has been great.
Thank you. See you next week with
Sounds
Belinda.
good. Thanks, viewers and listeners. Bye-bye.
Bye.